Do I have a story time for you? While we get ready, let me tell you about the event that I attended last night in LA, which was the worst experience I have had thus far. Here's the thing, every event that I've gone to, there's been, of course, little hiccups, human error, people get sassy, who cares? You forgive, you move on, and you still have a great time. But the injustice that happened last night, justice, that's what I'm hung up on. I got invited to an artist's song release party in Hollywood. I was personally promised from his manager and the host of the night that I was given a +1, we were gonna have VIP access, there was gonna be a little red carpet before the opening act came on stage, and then the main act. The invitation was credible, we confirmed me and my +1 slot for the event. The day of the event arrives, me and my +1, I brought Megan with me. You guys know Megan. Her and I drive 3.5 hours to Hollywood because we want to support this new artist. We get into the VIP line outside the venue. We're all looking at our clocks like, we were supposed to be let in 30 minutes ago and the show's supposed to start in 15, but we're not even doing the carpet yet. We're not doing press. What's going on? A lot of people in line were already getting a little sassy, but you know, it's the beginning of the night. You don't want that to wreck it, and it's LA. Most things run late. So I was like, okay, well, it's gonna be fun when we get in. Let's just get in. Megan and I finally make it through security and everything, and then we get to the front where we hand the girl our little barcode on our phone for her to scan. She scans mine, it goes through just fine, hands me a lanyard to wear for credentials, but then when she scans Megan, it says invalid. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's just a glitch. Like, the manager is literally walking around. He's the one that gave me the invitation. Like, literally no big deal. We'll just get this cleared up. Easy, fine. So the two girls working the front little booth, they just asked us to like step to the side so other people who get their barcodes accepted will walk the red carpet. I could have walked the carpet, but I was like, no, I'm gonna wait for Megan. As we're stepping to the side, we start noticing that like other influencers and their +1s and like people in the VIP area, random people, their barcodes start getting invalid. So the group of invalid QR codes starts getting bigger. Like, it was just Megan and I, and now it's like Megan, me, this girl Ashley, her friend Sophie. One of the guy friends that we made in line, his name was Jordan, and he also like randomly got an invalid barcode, so he was in our little group to the side, and he flew from Wisconsin just for this one event. He also got personally invited by the event manager, whom we are going to name Matthew. So now it's this big group of people and we're all waiting for Matthew because we're all like, he personally invited us. All he has to do is like look at us or see our name and be like, oh yeah, I invited you. It's okay. Like, sorry, it's just a computer glitch. Let him on through. We finally grab Matthew. I start explaining to him. I'm like advocating for the whole group. I'm like, hi, I'm Danny. There are a pair of you. Talk to me and my team. All of us are showing up that we have invalid barcodes, but like, we have emails back and forth from you. Like, this just isn't like a big deal. Just, you know, let us on through. I am trying to be as kind, as graceful, as forgiving as I can. And Matthew looks at me and he was like, we're at capacity. Nothing I can do for you. Time for you to leave the facility. Wait. How are you at capacity if you personally emailed me and all of these people and gave us VIP barcodes? Is this like a bait and switch? And Jordan next to me starts getting so upset. He's the one that flew from Wisconsin. I'm like, hold on, Jordan. Hold on. I got you. I'm going to vouch for everybody in this group. We're gonna get in. Like, this kind of isn't cool. So I start talking to the girls again at the front booth being like, this is just one big misunderstanding. But these girls were not letting up. They were like, sorry, whatever Matthew says goes. Ooh. So then I grab Matthew again. Homeboy is not happy to see me because I'm not letting go. I'm talking to him and I'm like, hey, again, so sorry, but like we have our barcodes, we have your email address personally inviting us. What is going on? And proceeds to tell me that because they had hit capacity, they just literally went into their computer and just started canceling people. And was like, too bad, so sad, go home. After he says that whole spiel to me and the group and gallivants away, he pulls influencers from the line without even being scanned by QR codes, brings them to the red carpet, and I overhear the two girls at the booth saying that 100 people who RSVP'd for VIP didn't show up, and their arms are full of all of the extra lanyards, and yet they want us to leave the facility. You guys, this rarely happens, but I was pissed. I turn to my super tight friend group now because we were all invalid barcodes and we've all bonded over this traumatic experience of this man yelling at us. It's not like we were doing something illegal. He invited us. This is not our mistake. I'm so sorry you hit capacity and I'm so sorry you have all these 100 extra lanyards. What? It makes no sense. First of all, the man was lying to us. Like, full out lying because, yeah, 100 people didn't show up. you should have space. I'm the only one with the VIP lanyard. I'm the only one where my QR code actually worked, but I'm not gonna leave this. Like, you're joking. And I say, you guys, we are going to get in one way or another. I'm not gonna go in alone. Like, it's either we all just bail or we all get in. We're all talking, we're trying to make a better game plan. And that's when we decided to approach this from a different angle. Go to part 2.
Every makeup artist's worst nightmare is if they are unwell on a wedding day. Actually, it's probably every supplier's worst nightmare. Well, let me tell you about the time I was, in fact, unwell on a wedding day. So let's set the scene. It was last December. Yes, it was recently. This wedding had quite an early start, and I can't fully remember what time I had to be there, but I just remember it was early. But the place I had to travel to was only a 15-minute drive, which was lovely. And you may be thinking, I already know where this story is going. Well, let me tell you don't, because nothing about this wedding morning could have been predicted. Also, guys, my eye eczema is playing up a little bit, so if I look extra wrinkly under or around the eye area, that is why. I actually started off that day feeling absolutely fine, perfectly fine, didn't feel unwell at all, felt absolutely normal. In fact, I was actually really looking forward to this wedding because the bride was super lovely and I was working alongside a hairstylist who I really like. I arrive at the hotel early and I start to take my kit inside to go get set up. I'd already texted the bride to let her know I was there and she said she would be there in approximately 10 minutes. So let me remind you, it's December, so it's cold outside. However, I walk into the getting ready room to what felt like a hot summer's day in the Caribbean. It was boiling in there. Obviously somebody had whacked the heating on and left it there. Of course, I go and turn that right down. I was first in the room and before I set up, I always like to scout about to see the best places for hair and makeup. I feel like I'm very thoughtful in the fact I always make sure hairstylists have a space suited to them. So like a dressing table with plug sockets and a mirror. Whereas makeup can really go anywhere. So I set up my kit on the bed on a towel, don't worry, and waited for my bride to arrive. Let's also talk about my outfit because that was a key component to this story as well. I was wearing a thick black hoodie, ugly creased t-shirt that I just did not want to see the light of day. And the only reason I wore it was because it was cold outside and I wanted an extra layer under my hoodie. Anyway, my bride and her bridesmaid arrive. All is good, I'm feeling good, and I'm ready to start makeup on time. It's not until the rest of the bridal party arrive, and there's about 8 people in this room, when I start to feel a little bit too hot. I then start to feel very sick. And I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes I can feel sick and know I'm gonna be all right. Other times I can feel sick and I just know it's gonna happen. And this was most definitely one of those times where I just knew it was coming. But by this point, I was already halfway through makeup on bridesmaid number 1. I'm gonna be annoying, come back for part 2.
One of my biggest fears unfortunately became a reality. Get ready with me, story time. Over 5 years ago, I actually used to work at a grocery store in my city. At this job, I first started off as a grocery bagger and then I moved my way up to be a GM, which is a general merchandiser, so I basically restock products, and then I shortly made my way to becoming a clerk, which is another word or term for cashier. I do want to mention when I became a clerk or a cashier, I was working at that job for maybe like a year. I was about to hit like a year. In my opinion, when you work at a grocery store or somewhere where you're helping out customers, kind of start to get a feel of who your regular customers are. It was a weekday and I was working in the afternoon and this guy came in my line. And again, remember I said I do recognize regulars? Well, I just knew that this guy wasn't a regular. At least I had never seen him. So this older man comes into my line and in my opinion, he's one of those guys that if I were to see out on the streets, I would probably like turn the other way. Not even like that I'm judging the way he looks. It's just like the way he was like looking at me, like it was an evil look, if that makes sense. Like it was scary, like me being alone and I see that, I'm running the other way. This man is next in my line. He had one item. He asked me like the most like random question. He's like, hey, do you know where this item is? And I was just like, oh, it's like right behind you. I don't know, it was just like weird. It's like he knew but he still wanted to ask me. And then the second weird question that he asked me was, what is my name? And if you work at a grocery store, you're always gonna have a name badge, so it was just weird that he asked me for my name. I do understand if, you know, you want to get to know me and you are a regular, you're going to become a regular at the store, you kind of just want to have a conversation. But the way he asked me for my name wasn't just like a normal conversation. It was kind of like, oh, I want to investigate you, who are you, one of those type of, you know, conversations. Kind of just let it be, and I was like, all right, Ash, just move on, just scan his order and get him out of here. He was the type of like customer where he would just like look at you, scan his order, like he would just like stare you down. And personally, when I go to a grocery store, I don't even like look at the cashier. If I do, I'll like glance at her, but nothing where I'm like staring at her, you know, like creeping her out. Anyway, so that guy leaves, and then later on in the night, I think I was working like a 12 to 9, and I remember this guy came around like 9 o'clock, almost time for like me to clock out. And one of the girls comes up to me and says, hey, like, there's this guy, he's looking for you. And I was like, who? Like, do I know who he is? And she was like, I'm not sure, but like he was describing somebody and the only person that fits the description is you. And I was like, that's a little bit weird. Also, I do want to mention that I was in the break room at this time when she told me that this guy was like looking for me. Me being me, I was like, who's this person? I want to go see who it is. But I'm a very observant person. I'm also a very like paranoid person, so I was being sneaky about it. I would kind of just like peek a little bit, or I would go up to like the office and I would kind of try to see from the office out to the store. Sure enough, when I spot this man, I was like, dude, there's no way this is the guy that I had the weird encounter with earlier in the day. Okay, like that's weird. Why is he asking for me? Like, I'm not getting good vibes off of him. I felt very uncomfortable, and I feel like one of like my biggest fears is always like having a stalker. I feel like that's just any girl's fear, is having a stalker, right? I refused to go back out on the floor, and he ended up leaving. And tell me why the next day he comes back and I'm at the register, and one of the girls comes up to me and she was like, hey, like, I think that guy is back. I recognize his car. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, that guy who asked about you, he was like, I don't think he's walked in. Have you seen him? And I was like, no, I haven't seen him yet. Why? She's like, okay, I'm gonna switch spots with you. You go hide. And I was like, oh my God, like, there's no way this is my reality right now. So thankfully she let me out of the register. I ended up going in the very back to like the milk box area, and there's also a medicine room. So I literally hid in the medicine room, and I was like, bro, there's like no way that I have a stalker right now. Like, what in the actual fuck? Before my coworker actually let me out, she told me to stay nearby the back phone in case he leaves, that way I can come back out. And I was like, okay, cool. So I remember she ended up calling the phone, and I answered, and she was like, hey, like, this guy's looking for you again. And I was like, are you serious? And she was like, yeah, like, he's looking for you, and I don't feel like he's looking for you for a good reason. It's like, because it's been an hour and he's still in the store and he still hasn't bought anything. She was like, usually if you're gonna be in the store for this long, you at least have a cart full of groceries. I'm gonna probably have to wait until after closing for this like man to leave, or until I'm able to leave. So to keep my mind busy, I ended up leaving the medicine room and I went to the milk box, which honestly is still in the back, but when it's in this corner and the milk box is on the other side. And so I just started filling up milk because I was like, I'm gonna be back here, let me at least help the closer out. I'm filling the milk up and I just see like a hand right there, like grabbing milk or faking that he's gonna grab a milk. And I was like, bro, there's no way this is my stalker. And so I look, and sure enough, it was him. And I was like, oh, hell no. So I literally left the milk box area and I went back to the medicine cabinet or the medicine room. And I just stood there. I was literally hiding in between boxes. I think I even have a Snapchat. I might insert it if I do find it, of me literally hiding in the milk box. I was like, bro, I can't believe this is my reality right now. But at this point, it was already closing time, and we closed the grocery store at 11 o'clock. I was supposed to clock out at 9 o'clock, and tell me why I did not leave the grocery store until almost 12 in the morning. I left that late because this man's car was still in the parking lot. He had one of those car vehicles where, like, you know, when somebody passes away, they have like that certain type of vehicle they put like the casket in and the person in. Yeah, he had one of those. Yeah, when I seen that he had that type of car, I was like, oh hell, I'm not about to walk out, and the last thing I need is for him to know what kind of car I drive. This guy finally leaves, and then I end up leaving as well. As I'm on my way home, I decided that I wanted to go to the gym, and the gym to my job was only like 3 minutes away. It was over the bridge. I walked into the gym and I went to the squat rack, and tell me why I seen my stalker at the gym.
Things that my exes taught me. Just because they're ugly doesn't mean they're going to treat you better. Like, how are you going to be hard to look at and a shitty person? Pick a damn struggle. If he doesn't let you post bikini pics, it's because he knows the way he looks at bikini pics of other girls. My one ex was like, how would you feel if I posted an app picture? Like, bro did not have apps. Go for it with that total drama island as build. If he constantly talks about other girls and how hot they are, he's insecure and thinks you're out of his league, and the only way that he can get you to like him is by making you jealous. If all he talks about are his achievements in the past, it means he has nothing going for him now. Like, bro, no one cares that you made the JV soccer team 6 years ago. Boy code quite literally doesn't exist. You know what's a damn problem? When his own friends come up to you asking you what the fuck you're doing. If all your friends and family hate him for no reason, trust me, bitch, there's a reason. If you notice you're threatened by the ugly girls and not just the pretty ones, you're not his type. Fucking run. Bro had me worried about Jabba the fucking Hutt. If he's insecure and hates himself, bro will make it his #1 mission to make you insecure and hate yourself. If bro is not an atom, bro doesn't need to multiply himself. If he has an adult movie addiction, fucking run. Trust me, get out while you can. You can tell a lot about a dude by his Instagram following. Like, if that shit looks like the Starbucks pickup order list, fucking run. No matter how many times he apologizes to you, his actions will always show you how he actually feels about you. If you were the one picking him up and driving him around, paying for everything, or letting him drive your car, you are his fucking daddy and tell him to address you as such. You trying to turn a bum into your perfect person is quite literally holding you back from finding your actual perfect person. And if he's paranoid that you're gonna cheat on him even though you've done literally nothing to make him worry, he's definitely cheating on you. Love you, hub knockers. Bye.
Ready with me to do my makeup after getting my colors done and finding out I'm a winter. When I tell you I was shocked to find out my color palette, I've lived my entire life thinking that I was in the autumn color palette. I mean, gold jewelry, gold, brown smoky eye, like neutral tones, a lot of like tans, browns, olive greens, like burnt orange, which apparently are the exact opposite of what I should be doing. Like, those are some of my worst colors. I was already using this Kosas concealer, but I was using it in a warm tone, so I'm really curious to see if the cool tone makes any difference. I was so skeptical that I would really be able to notice a difference because I did all those like TikTok filters, you know, trying to tell you what your best color is and if silver and gold look better. And I was like, there's just no way that I'm gonna notice that big of a difference in person. But oh my God. Luckily my bronzer was actually like a cooler toned, so I got lucky with that. It's like the one thing that works right now. Also, I love this bronzer. It's from Westman Atelier and I just feel like it blends so well. One tip the color consultant shared with me is to buy a robe in one of your best colors and get ready in that robe, because when you're wearing your correct colors, you actually need less makeup. And I definitely saw that because when the correct color was draped on me, I could see my face contour more and my complexion just look brighter and clearer. It was pretty crazy. So I got a new blush from there because I love this one, but I was using more of like the orange warm tone. And I'm gonna be trying the pink one today, which is a color I would have always avoided. Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh, it feels so bright and pink to me. It's gonna take a while to get used to this. Now I'm just setting it with a translucent powder. And for brows, I'm using the Kosas brow pencil because this is one of the best brow pencils I've ever used. I can't really do much with my eyes right now except for I'm using a little espresso brown powder and I'm just going to like line it a little bit because black brown is in my color palette, so this is the closest thing I have right now. So I've been doing my eye makeup pretty much the same way for like 10 years now, and I've been doing a lot of like the browns and the golds. So to have to start over basically and use colors that I would never use is going to be a challenge. Winters are the only season that look best in black mascara, and all other seasons look best in brown mascara, which I've actually never tried brown mascara, but apparently it makes like a crazy difference on the other seasons when they wear brown mascara. I think the lips are gonna make the craziest difference and also going to take the longest to get used to. I would have never put this color on my lips before this. Like, oh my gosh. I love this gloss so much. This is my second pair of silver earrings, so love that for me. This is the final look. What do we think?
Gorgeous, gorgeous girls always over blush. Gorgeous, gorgeous girls are always in a rush.
Guys, get ready with me while I tell you about the time I literally got kidnapped in Mexico. This happened about literally last year. It's about to make a year, and I haven't really told no one about it because honestly that was like one of my scariest experiences like I've ever gone through, and till this day I'm still scared. So yeah, I ended up going to visit family in Sinaloa, and we ended up going to Mazatlan for like 2 nights. It was our last night there, and me being me suggested we go to like a high-end club. I was like, you know, I want to spend my money, like I want to go to a nice club. My cousins ended up, you know, agreeing with me, and they're like, okay, like we're gonna go to El Clásico. And El Clásico is like those really good clubs where like all the musicians go, and it's just like a really high-end club. So we ended up going, but before we went, like I had this feeling. I was like, oh, I don't know if like I want to go, because that whole day we're at the beach and I was already exhausted, but I'm like, I'm gonna have FOMO. If I don't go, like I'm gonna be like crying. So I'm like, no, like let's suck it up, like let's go. We ended up going, and getting there, my uncle got off to see how much the fee was to get in. I think the fee was like 2,000 pesos, and my uncle was like, oh, they're just switching it up because they know we're not from here. So my uncle was like, you know, let's make a U-turn and let's call other places to see how much the entrance fee is, and if it's like a little bit more expensive, we're just gonna stay here. Right when we were doing the U-turn, I noticed the parking lot was full of Beamers, Range Rovers, Mercedes. So I was like, no, we have to get in here, like this club is gonna be good, you know. So we still made that U-turn, and we parked on the other side of the street. And right when we parked, we noticed these police literally come behind us, and they started ringing their siren. The police started inspecting our car because they're like, you know, this car isn't from here, you don't have like this license plate. But we actually did. Before we got to the place, we actually ended up switching that because we knew it was going to be a problem over there, so we had it. Basically, they started like literally going through every inch of the car, and then my aunt was like, hey, like look at their hands, because they're known to stash drugs and blame it on you and get money out of you. So we're looking at their hands, but long story short, they ended up stashing the drugs inside of my uncle's pocket. Like literally, they're like, your uncle has coke, and we knew he didn't have coke. They literally stashed it. Part two.